Hello everyone, my name is Kimberly Gonzalez and this is my Ecology Research Project. So, the reason why I chose to study the black racer snake is because they are a species that is prevalent in all of Florida, and so it was a good study subject that I was sure to find throughout this course. My idea for the study was that I could find larger, healthier snakes located in my neighborhood area, as I have seen decent rodent populations throughout. For example, squirrels, mice, and although they're not rodents, bats. I expected snakes in forested areas to not really be smaller, but I expected them to be of a lighter weight since it's harder for them to catch food. So my hypothesis was that snakes found in urban settings would be larger and healthier than those found in the forested area. My study areas consisted of the Palm Bluff Conservation Area and my neighborhood. So, Palm Bluff is a 3,321 acres property. It's full of pine land, wetland, and scrub. It has 9 miles of marked trails. However, all of my transects were marked off trail so that I wouldn't have to take foot traffic into account. And then, so my neighborhood is in Deltona, Florida. It is comprised of almost the same habitats found in Palm Bluff, although it's not nearly as forested. There's 3 lakes, and my transects were made to follow sidewalks, which were covered by either vegetation or water on one or both sides. Alright. Black racer snakes were found in both locations, as well as pygmy rattlesnakes and 3 different species of garter snakes. However, those were not as prevalent as the black racers. For my methods section, feel free to pause and read the whole method section while I summarize it. So each location had 3 transects, each being a half mile. These transects were walked several times a week, and specimens of the species Coluber constrictor priapus, which were the southern black racer snakes, were measured and weighed. Length was taken with a tape measure in inches, and weight was taken in grams using a scale of 0.5 graduation. After each snake was identified, it was weighed and taken length, and then it was written down in a log to keep track, and the log was separated by location. At the end of the 3 weeks, the sample size, sample mean, sample variance, standard deviation, standard error, and confidence intervals were calculated, and then a bar graph was made to compare the confidence intervals and the means of each location. That's the graph you can see here at the bottom of the page. So these 2 pictures that I chose to put here are just to show, so one is to show the species that I was working with. So on the right here you can see number 9, which is one of the specimens that I found, which is in Palm Bluff. And then I didn't count this as a specimen, but I still measured it just because it's still relevant to the work. So on the left you'll see a shed that I found. I know it's a black racer shed because other snakes that are native here, so like the garter snakes or the rattlesnakes, all of them have a pattern and black racers don't, so they're all solid color. Usually on snakes, especially a snake this big, the pattern will still be shown on the shed. So in the end, my hypothesis was rejected, as more specimens as well as larger specimens were found in the forested areas of Palm Bluff. My initial thought was that there would be a greater population found in the neighborhood because of more established rodent populations. However, I did encounter something for the first time that I had never seen before in any trail here in Florida, which was a palm rat. So that goes to show that there are larger rodent populations than I expected. And yes, in the wild there are still other options, so the snakes could also be eating birds, squirrels, fish, even ground moles, but seeing that rat there showed me that while we may not see them as often, rodent populations are definitely widely available in the wild as prey. So another thing I'd like to mention, my means were significantly different, as well as my sample sizes. This was unfortunate because I couldn't extend my period of study, so it's not like I could have spent more time trying to raise the amount of specimens I found in my neighborhood. But even then, the specimens I did find in my neighborhood were most likely baby snakes, which I think I only had maybe like 2 or 3 adult snakes that I had found here in the neighborhood. So it just goes to show that yes, there might be smaller prey in the neighborhood, but eventually they will make their way into more forested areas. The time of year right now is breeding season. Some of them may not have given birth yet, but a lot of the times, yes, they will be already hatching around this time. So I'm not sure if there's a reason why maybe snakes choose to lay their eggs here in neighboring areas rather than in the forest. Maybe it's a safety thing. Maybe there's more predators in the forest. But those are just other things I had to take into account as well at the end. And then just to look into another study, there was a similar case by Joanna Berger, Robert T. Zappalorti, and Michael Gotchfeld, which studied also like population and survival increase in certain places. So they quoted that population stability is largely a function of survival and reproduction. One of the fundamental factors determining population dynamics and viability is recruitment to breeding age, which in turn is related to female age of first breeding, birth or hatching rates, offspring growth, and offspring survival. So of course, without, I would say like a sustainable species of prey, these snakes would not make it to adult size in this neighborhood, at least, because while, like I said before, yes, there might be smaller prey for the babies, a larger adult snake cannot survive off of just several small meals. No, it has to have fewer in between, but larger meals to sustain its growth. And these are the sources that I used. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed.